Heidi, if you call the roll, please.
Yes. Alvin Keimer,
Present.
Christine Bershon,
Here.
Keith Kyle,
Here.
Ellen Cornell,
Here.
Christopher Allman,
Absent with cause?
Anthony Bernetti.
Here.
Mr. Vice Chair, you have 5 members present. You have a quorum.
Thank you. So first, I'd like to do a couple of housekeeping things. I want to welcome Christine as a full member to the board, and Al's moving up to first alternate. We still have one gentleman actually persons out and one other position that's waiting to be filled. So we have 5 all voting tonight. Okay. Heidi, we have one coming off, Cambry Enterprises,
Cambry Enterprises, yes, the
moving
applicant. I'm sorry,
to, moving to August
August. It's-
17th?
I'm sorry, it's totally escaping me at the moment. I had it in my head. Oh, yes, August 22nd.
22nd. Okay, so if anyone's here for Cambry Enterprises, that won't be heard tonight, it'll be heard next month.
Do you need a motion?
I do.
I move that to August 22nd.
Second.
Have a first and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes 5-0. Thank you. Okay, first item is the approval of minutes for May 23rd and June 30th. Can I get a motion to approve those?
Make a motion to approve. Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Okay, first up tonight is Almonte, Plat M, Lot 167-139, 4 Lane 6.
Aye.
Hi, Mr. Almonte?
Yes, I am.
If I could have you sworn, please.
Please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear that this testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Please state your name and spell your last.
Edward Lewis Almonte Jr., A-L-M-O-N-T-E.
Thank you.
Floor is yours, sir.
Okay. So I'm here tonight to talk about my addition that I'm planning on doing. I'm raising my existing house up, put a foundation underneath it, putting it back down on its footprint, bumping one wall out 4 feet and putting a second floor addition on with a sundeck. It's in Breakwater Village. I'm here because we have some zoning restrictions. I'm governed under the 60-40 rule, and you know, my current design meets all the setbacks and bars and height restrictions.
Okay, and you're here for a special use permit?
I am here for a special use permit.
Have you been before the Breakwater Village Association for approval?
Yes.
Yes, I have.
And you received that approval?
I did. As well as the planning board approval.
Do you have any witnesses you want to call?
No, I didn't.
Oh, go ahead.
Mr. Almonte, hi.
Yes, hi.
Could you just describe the surrounding properties, the properties that are near you? Can you give me an idea of what the height of the buildings are?
Sure,
Okay.
yeah.
You have a pointer on the podium.
Oh, okay. Okay, this is my existing dwelling right here. My neighbor here, this
Sorry, is it the one bordered in yellow or the one right there?
139 right here. I don't know why this one's bordered. This is the neighbor behind me. So this neighbor behind me, this house
Okay, so we gotta
basically is identical to my height, roughly 14 feet to the peak currently.
Okay,
This neighbor's house right here, approximately about 30 feet high, and my next door neighbor, this side right here, is about 35 feet high.
the 30 and 35 feet high are newer builds, would you say?
These are under the, these are pre-2010 builds. This one I want to say was 2005. This one is about roughly that same era. So I'm governed under the current rules, which is 24 feet high and 60/40 because of my lot size, which is under 2,000 square feet.
Okay, and where from that, where is the water from there?
The water, the ocean is about, well, there's a cliff right at the end, which is Shore Road. It basically runs perpendicular to lane 6. And it's down a cliff, and it's basically runs along the shore all the way to Galilee.
Okay, and this road here is that, what is that road?
This is Follett, and there's
Okay.
and there's wetlands back here. And so that's, I had to go to DEM and get approval for that. That was basically, I didn't have to receive any wetland permits because my structure size is under is 600 square feet or under, and therefore I met all the, minimum requirements to not have to have that CRMC or DEM approval.
Your plans the plans that you have, you would say that they're nothing dramatically different from some of the other houses in the area, are they?
No, if anything, it's smaller.
Okay.
And I'm not encroaching any closer to my neighbor on this side or this side.
So it's just on the side where you have all the...
It's only my existing driveway side where I'm pulling about 4 feet and removing the existing. If you want to go back one page, it's a little clearer of a picture on the site plan. Yeah. There's an existing Trex deck right here, and the intent is to bump this wall out about 4 feet, makes that 600 square feet on the bottom. And this decking is going to be removed and replaced with pavers.
Are you going from 2 to 3 bedrooms, or
No.
are you staying at 2?
2.
And parking is adequate? I think staff's determined that you've got 2 parking.
Yes.
2 200 parking.
Correct.
Okay. Okay.
That's it.
Well done. Thank you.
Anyone else on the board have questions? Anything further before we move on? Okay.
No?
Okay, after you have Steve, we'll call you back up.
Okay, thank you.
Do we have anyone who would like to speak in favor of this project? None. Anyone opposed? Okay, no proponents, no opponents. It's up to the board. Do we have any questions, any further discussions? Okay, it's a pleasure.
Okay. Mr. Chairman, with...
Miss- Mr. Chairman, you need to close.
Oh,
Yeah.
thank you. We have a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Thank you, Jim. Ms. Gordon.
Mr. Chairman, with respect to project summary, Almonte Tax Assessors Plat M-167, Lot 139, I will submit the following findings of fact for the record. The project is located in Breakwater Village, and the board is reviewing this under the Breakwater Village Special District Dimensional Regulations. The project includes the renovation of an existing dwelling by demolishing a sun deck and a shed, and demolishing the sun deck and extending the foundation 4 feet out to allow for the construction of a second-story addition with a sun deck and a shed. I want to note that the Breakwater Village Architectural Review Board has approved the project. The only relief requested is a special use permit because the project otherwise conforms to all of the dimensional regulations, coverage and other floor area ratio requirements for this particular property. As part of the special use permit, the zoning board is required to determine that the 24-foot height is an appropriate height. So that will be part of my motion. I also note that the planning board did approve this project by a vote of 5-0. Today we heard testimony from the owner, Ed Almonte, and he testified that the project is basically in conformance with the other dwellings in the area, that there does not seem to be any problems with access to any bodies of water. The height seems to be even a little bit lower than some of the surrounding residences, so we don't have view issues or air and access issues there. So that will conclude my findings of fact, and I make a motion to enter them into the record.
Ms. Cornell, if I may, I just want to make an amendment to the relief requested. It was initially flagged as 4.8.1.6 F. It should actually be D, because this lot is less than 2,000 square feet.
Okay. But still just the special use permit,
Yes.
not a dimensional.
Thank you, Brian. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a first and a second. Any discussion?
Who seconded?
I do.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Come on, Mr. Almonte, where'd you go?
Nope.
That's good.
Come on.
And you need to make,
Oh,
we
we
need
need
to
to
do
make
it
a
anytime.
The whole-
Yes, I apologize. We'll get there.
So, Mr. Chairman, with respect to project summary Almonte, tax assessors plat M-167 lot 139, I make a motion to approve the special use permit for the project with the conditions listed in the project summary. And included with this approval is the determination that the 24-foot height is appropriate. So I think that should be included in there as well. Staff has indicated the project meets all of the dimensional and other standards. The use of pairs, the testimony from Mr. Almonte seems to indicate that the project meets the dimensional and other standards. It's in harmony with the general purpose of and intent of the zoning ordinance and the comp plan of the town of Narragansett, as well as the Breakwater Village dimensional regulations. There was no testimony in opposition to this, and Mr. Almonte testified that the project will serve the public convenience and welfare. The use of the project for what his intended purposes does not create anything detrimental to the public health, safety, morals, and general welfare. And the project does not injure the surrounding properties in any way. It conforms to the surrounding properties. So some of the questions I asked are because we're urged to consider access to air, access to water, any of that stuff. So that is something that it doesn't appear to have any detrimental effect to water access or air or light or views. So with that being said, the motion is to approve the special use permit for the project with the conditions listed in the project summary.
Seconded.
Thank you. Can we have a first and a second? A motion to approve. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Now the motion carries. Good luck.
Thank you, guys. Have a good night.
Next on the agenda is Eventides LLC, Plat I-J, Lot 7, 1108 Succotash Road.
Hold on 1 minute.
Over,
I have recused in the past because I do a lot of legal work for their firm, so I don't know if I should just maintain my consistency with that.
I mean, we have 4, so
Yeah.
there's no,
Right.
there's no necessity for you.
Yep.
Oh,
Well, I was,
sorry.
I didn't realize you were here.
No, no
Sorry about
problem.
that. Should I just go sit somewhere else?
Yeah, if you're gonna recuse, you gotta get up and you can go in the cool part of the
I'm gonna enjoy
building.
myself somewhere else. All right, well,
Good luck.
We're good. Okay, thank you.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman and members of the board. Michael Monti of Sayre and there on behalf of the applicant, Eventides LLC. This is an application for special use permits to allow for the demolition of 2 existing, significantly non-conforming single-family homes located on one single lot at 1108 Succotash Road, and the reconstruction of a single, significantly more conforming two-family home on that lot. And as you can see here, the property is located just across the street from East Matunic Beach. It's on the other side of that street there. The proposal requires these special use permits because the existing lot is substandard. It's just under 7,000 square feet in an R10 zone. And the existing structures are non-conforming with respect to lot coverage and setbacks on 3 of the 4 sides. Notwithstanding, the Narragansett Code allows for structural alteration or reconstruction with a special use permit, provided there's no increase in the extent of any dimensional nonconformity. That the footprint is not enlarged by greater than 25%, we're actually going to be decreasing the footprint. That the exterior of the reconstruction is substantially better or the same as what exists, and that the site can accommodate the proposed level of use. Moreover, because this property is in the Coastal Resource Overlay District, an additional special use permit is required for the work inappropriately granted when the development standards have been satisfied, and those standards include requirements such as that the proposal not threaten or negatively impact tidal waters and shoreline features. So evidence is going to be presented tonight on those standards. To that end, on the team is Jake Watkins, the project architect, Al Diorio, the registered land surveyor who designed the OWTS and stormwater systems, and the principals of Eventides LLC are here tonight, Eric and Carla O'Brien. So Jake is going to come up first and walk the board through the existing conditions and proposed changes. I'll then have Al come up and testify as to the components of the site plan in terms of OWTS and stormwater, which he designed. And then finally, if the board would like to hear from the principals, Eric is prepared to speak about the intended use of the property. To preface that testimony, it's so that he and his wife can age in place. They've been living in Narragansett in Connecticut for the past 20 years. They're longtime members of the community, and you'll actually see in your packets that there were multiple letters of support for this project, and actually many of them came out at the planning board approval, which was unanimous. Before I have Jake come up, I did want to submit as an exhibit one additional letter of support that I didn't see in the packet. If I may approach. Yeah. It's one for the administrative staff for the file. So this is just an additional level of letter of support that I didn't see in the materials that you had been submitted. With that, Jake, do you want to come to the doc?
Please raise your right hand. Do Do you solemnly swear that the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Please state your name and then spell your last.
Jake Watkins, W-A-T-K-I-N-S.
Thank you.
And if we could put the presentation on, and before Jake begins, I'm going to submit this as an Exhibit B, which is a presentation that's not in your packet, but that Jake is going to use to illustrate the changes. So let me pass these out to you. Yeah, why don't you-
Mr. Monti, do you want me as an exhibit or?
Yes, marked as an exhibit would be excellent. Thank you.
Just the 2 arrows. We'll go forward.
So in a minute, I'm gonna let Jake just really walk you through this, but before he does that, what's your profession, Mr. Watkins?
I'm an architect,
And how long have you been an architect?
25 years.
And have you been accepted as an expert in architecture by municipal boards previously?
Yes.
I would request that Mr. Watkins be so recognized tonight.
For the purposes of this hearing, Mr. Watkins will be recognized as an expert in architecture.
Yes.
So Jake, if you will.
So I'll run through a few slides of the project. This is the first slide showing the location on Succotash Road in Brecca. The neighborhood is generally characterized as a dense neighborhood, single family and multifamily homes. This is the existing residence on the property, which is in slight disrepair. The idea is to demolish this existing property and build a new single structure that holds 2 residences, an in-law unit and the main residence. The existing residence, which is what's shown here with the gray boxes, is non-conforming from the setbacks that are currently on the site, both on the front yard, the rear yard, and both side and the one side yard right here. The new proposed residences will make that conforming in every way. Bring it to 25 feet on the front yard, 20 feet on the rear, and 8 on both of the side yards. This is just showing how the rear yard will become more conforming from currently 7.1 feet to 21.25 feet, 14.8 feet to 25 feet in the front, and then 2.2 feet on the side to 8 feet on the side. From a coverage comparison, this will also be made conforming, or more conforming, where the total square footage is brought from the total of 2,800 square feet to 2,643 square feet. From a square footage point of view, the square footage will also be brought down from a total square footage of 2,922 to 2,790. So from both the coverage perspective and the total area perspective, we're actually reducing the amount of square footage on the site. There are a number of encumbrances on the site: FEMA overlay, coastal resources overlay, and high water table soils overlay, which we are addressing with the design. The biggest point that we are addressing is we're making the new residence FEMA compliant. The current average grade is at 8. The base flood elevation is at grade 13, elevation 13. The current lower level of both these residences are under, about 5 feet under the current base flood elevation of 13. The new occupiable first floor will be raised above the base flood elevation of 13 to 17, so 4 feet above. The lower level will be used as storage and parking, and there will be a second story also placed above as well. The total height of the project will be 35 feet, 30 feet above the base flood elevation line. All we're showing here is just from all the different zoning perspectives, we're either making it completely conforming or more conforming in its current state. The base flood, it will become FEMA compliant. All the setbacks will conform. The overall coverage is being reduced by 160 square feet, and the overall floor area is being reduced by 132 square feet. The lower level, and this is a series of plans just showing architecturally what we're doing right now. Lower level will be used for parking, off-street parking, and in garage parking, storage space on this rear footprint here. The main level is accessed through the stairway above the FEMA base flood elevation line, the main living space towards the front on succotash, and an in-law unit at the rear. The second floor consists of 3 bedrooms that is accessed from the stairway from the main level we were just looking at. So that when you're looking at the total structure, it does look like a complete single element on the site, raised above the floodplain, living space, and bedroom space on the second floor. I ask Al Diorio to address the site parameters.
Yeah, so if there are any questions for Mr. Watkins, that's the extent of his presentation, so it would be appropriate to inquire of him now.
Sure, so.
Okay.
I understand you clearly, we're only looking for special use permits, there's no setback requirements, no violations there, you're not meeting any, you're meeting them all. You're becoming less non-conforming,
Yes.
and not necessarily conforming.
Yes.
Got it, thank you.
Okay. The character of the dwelling and the proposed structure, is it would you say it's consistent with some of the surrounding?
I'd say it directly derives from the vernacular in the neighborhood. The pitched roof, the wood siding, the window fenestration, the divided lights, is all derived directly from the coastal vernaculars around the neighborhood.
And you also mentioned aging in place. Is there?
I didn't mention.
So I can have
Right.
the principals speak at the end of the presentation about what their intended use is for the property.
Okay, can you go to the floor plan, for a minute? What is this?
That's an elevator.
That's all I need to know, thank you. That's what I thought.
Are there any further questions for Mr. Watkins? So, do you want to go back to the slides?
Thank you, Mr. Watkins.
Excellent.
They were just asking me to go back to the slides.
Perfect. I'll do that. Al, would you please?
Please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear that the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Please state your name and spell your last.
Alfred W. Diorio, last name D-I-O-R-I-O.
Thank you.
Mr. Giorio, what is your profession?
I'm a professional land surveyor,
And how long have you been a professional land surveyor?
45 years.
Do you have any other professional certifications?
Yes, I do.
What are those certifications?
I hold a Class 2 and 4 designer's license for DEM. I'm also a certified floodplain manager, and I have a designation as a certified professional in erosion and sediment control.
Okay, and that gives you the credentials to design OWTS and stormwater systems in compliance with DEM regulations?
Within the confines of Class 2, that is correct.
Excellent. And how long have you been developing site plans and consulting on land use projects for clients?
Something in excess of 50 years.
And how many residential development projects have you prepared site work on? Around about.
Hundreds.
And have many of those projects been in coastal communities?
Yes.
And that includes design of OWTS and related systems?
That is correct.
Have you been accepted as an expert by municipal boards in the past?
Yes, I have.
I request that Mr. Diorio be accepted as an expert in site design and compliance with DEM regulations and as a professional registered land surveyor.
For the purposes of this hearing, Mr. Diorio will be recognized as an expert witness, as a professional land surveyor, site design,
And DEM regulations.
DEM regulations, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Did you design, Al, the site plan for the property at 1108 Succotash Road?
Yes, I did.
Can you please walk us through how the OWTS system works?
I can. And I'll preface that by saying I'm sure the zoning board members are very familiar with these kinds of systems. I'll be as brief as possible. But if there are questions, please just let me know and I'll dig deep. So generally, effluent leaves the building via a building sewer. It then is transported gravity to a specially designed septic tank, which also has a treatment pod over it. So this is where the denitrification process takes place. The effluent leaves the pod and is directed to a pump chamber. And in this pump chamber, there is a special UV disinfectant component. And then this effluent is discharged into the bottomless sand filter at the northerly portion of the site. So I'll draw your attention to the one component that goes above and beyond what most denitrification systems embody, and that is the UV disinfectant component.
And did this system receive DEM approval?
Yes, it did.
Okay. And did CRMC provide any comment on this?
We have a CRMC preliminary determination.
So does this OWTS system comply with all state, local regulations?
Yes, it does.
And did you design the stormwater treatment for the property?
Yes, I did.
Can you please describe how that system operates?
Yes. So,
There's a couple slides here. Is that preferable?
no, let's go back. That's fine, right there. So, the driveways are all permeable surfaces, so no calculations required from that. And then the entire structure has been deemed impervious for the purpose of the stormwater calculations. So obviously decks are not impervious, but we've gone the extra step and included them in the calculations. So all that discharge is being directed to 3 infiltration basins at the southerly portion of the site.
And were there any stormwater systems on the site as it currently exists?
No, there is no stormwater management on the site presently.
And so this is a significant improvement?
Yes, it is.
And were the details of this system provided to the town engineering department?
Yes, they were.
And did they provide any feedback?
I'm not aware that there was any feedback.
It's consistent with the intent of all Narragansett local and state regulations, is that correct?
Yes, it is.
In your opinion, based on your 50 years of experience in site design and working in coastal communities, will the project interfere with public access or use and enjoyment to tidal waters or coastline features?
No,
Will it degrade the aesthetic and recreational value of those waters or diminish the diversity of the shoreline?
no, it will not.
Will it increase the volume or velocity of runoff?
No, it will not.
Will it diminish any shoreline features such as storm and hurricane buffers?
No,
To your knowledge, will the alteration be the minimum necessary to construct this project?
yes,
And does the project pose any threat to public health, safety, or property?
no, it does not.
And does it interfere with access to light?
No, it does not.
Okay. I have nothing further for Mr. Diorio unless there are questions from the members.
There was one letter in the packet that, it wasn't really a letter in opposition, but it was a letter questioning something. Did you know what let me get it out. Somebody named Juan. If you could just explain that. He says, notice that the house is pushed back on Succotash Road, which makes it belong in massing to the Brecker House's grid orientation.
So I think
What
this
is that?
So I think this is really an architectural question.
Sorry.
So perhaps we could see if there are any other questions for Al, and if there aren't, then I can bring Jake back up.
Absolutely.
Anything else for Al?
And I'm John, I wrote the letter.
Oh, okay.
Yes,
Okay.
I can
Okay.
address that.
Jake, do you want to comment on that letter briefly?
John, okay.
Juan.
Can you repeat your question?
So, I said there is a letter from somebody named John, who is obviously here, in the packet, which asks a question and not really, doesn't seem like it really opposes the project, but asks some about some sort of orientation of the project on the lot. And maybe that there's some view issues or something like that. But I don't know, I was hoping somebody could explain it to me because I don't really understand the.
Well, if you're talking about the frontage on Succotash, which is here, this is the existing, this is the proposed. The existing is actually too far forward on Succotash. It's not congruent with the other associated neighborhood structures. The new design will be pushed further back from Succotash, and I think being more in line with the adjacent property.
So it does,
Okay.
it is pushed further back.
It's pushed further back and might be more congruent with the other massing that is in the neighborhood.
The concern seems to be that there's now a long roof line, a longer roof line, and the person who wrote the letter is actually here, so maybe we just, if she's gonna object at that time, we'll just hear from her.
Okay. I'll take that. So I think would the board, Eric, why don't you come up and we'll have the principal come up and briefly, because I know you had a question about aging in place.
I'm okay,
Oh.
that question's resolved. I just didn't see how anyone could age in place without an elevator, and you said that there's an elevator there, so I'm
Okay,
good.
well, if the board doesn't require testimony from the principal, then I will conclude our presentation and just like to say that we think this project clearly satisfies the standards that were required to be met tonight. So we're relying on the testimony that was presented, all of the exhibits, and everything you have in your file, and we request that the board approve this project. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Is there anyone that would like to speak in favor of this project? Come up, please.
Good evening.
Please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear that the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you
Yes.
God? Please state your name and spell your last.
Timothy Mahoney, Mahoney.
Thank you.
Right, my comment is that I reside at 7 Brecker Drive, which is adjacent to this property. Anything that's done over there is going to be a vast improvement, which I've had to live next to for the last 20 years, since the original owner, Pauline Belligris, who passed away quite a while ago, who used to break her butt to make the place clean without having enough money to really do things right. This property has fallen into bad disrepair. I had a terrible experience with one of the previous owners, many times with the police and everything else, and thank God they bought it and he's gone, right? I've lived in East Matulick pretty much my whole life, since I was probably 5 years old. Now I live there year-round, and I've met the O'Briens. They're going to make great neighbors. They're respectful. They came to me and talked to me about way before what they were going to do. And the plans, I think, are beautiful. It's not going to affect my view. It's actually going to be beneficial to me because on the north side of that property is going to be where the septic system is going to be. So where the house is very close to me now on the property line, the house is going to be another 30 feet away from my property line, which kind of gives it like a nice open space type of feeling rather than be, it's all East Matulick cluster. And as far as the design of the house, you go from A to Z in East Matulick. I mean, and I think it's gorgeous. And I think they're going to make good neighbors. And I think it's a vast improvement for the neighborhood. And I enjoy their company. So I got the closest look at it, so I'm the one who's going to be stuck with it. So, you know, I give a high approval to it.
Thank you, appreciate your testimony. And the other one, any other proponents? Are there opponents? Yes,
May I
please,
approach?
please.
Please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear that the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Sure, yes.
Please state and spell your whole name for me.
Joanne Corey, Juann, last name is Khoory.
Thank you.
So I'm also in favor of the project, like the previous speaker. We've been really, I live on 13 Brecca. We've been really struggling with this property, so we're very happy with it. And I'm the one who wrote the letter. I'm also an architect, so it was my eyes speaking into proportions with beautiful design. My only question was about the roof line being very long, because all the houses on Brecca the peaks are facing this way, and I questioned if there's anything can be done on the roof line to engage it with Brecca, because right now it fits really well with Secadash. But it's a question. And then the other question was about the amount of glass, because we have a lot of birds and wildlife in the area, and birds can come and hit the glass and die or fall or get injured. But I'm sure maybe there's something with the tinting of the glass or something we can do to prevent that. That's all I have to say.
Thank you.
And thank you for developing the property. I don't know whoever is here.
Any other opponents? Mr. Monti, would you like to address? Or,
We can have Mr. Watkins briefly address. Mr. Watkins, could you speak to your design of the roof line here?
Can I go back one slide?
Oh, yeah, hold on, I can put that back in, sorry. You should be able to use that now.
Well, I saw, appreciate your comments. It's a challenging site. All these sites here are very small, and so you're kind of picking and choosing what you're addressing in the frontages that you have. In this particular case, we're focused on the gables that are running along Succotash and mimicking that with this vernacular that we're representing on the site right here. I think the overall length of this is slightly smaller than the existing ridge line that's currently on the site as well, which has two. If we go back to the originals. This is what the current house looks like with the large roof line. And then,
And Jake, is the roof line is very much consistent with the other properties on Succotash, is that
that's correct.
fair to say? And is it challenging on a corner lot to make it?
I think this is one of the more challenging lots that we've been presented with because of the fact that it's undersized, because of the setback constraints, because of the FEMA compliance that we had to meet, and then because of the fact that it's a corner lot, and that presents other issues.
I don't have anything further for Mr. Watkins. Thank you.
any further questions or discussion from the board?
Yeah, I have a question.
Yes?
Will this be for full-time residency, or is this going to be a rental?
Please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear that the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Please state your name and spell your last.
Eric O'Brien, O''B''R''I''E'.
Thank you.
So I think the question was, will it be full-time residency or rental? So my wife and I, Carla, have been residents of this neighborhood for 20 years. We bought a summer place 20 years ago, and we spent our entire summers there. And it was a small cottage that wasn't winterized, so we would just spend our summers and some of the shoulder months there. We have our primary residence is in North Haven, Connecticut. 10 years back, we bought another house on Succotash and moved from the cottage to a full-time house that we've had for I think it's 10 years now, in which we've done the same thing, spending the summers, spending a lot more time during the winters, coming for extended weekends several times a month. The plan for this house is much the same in the immediate future. you know, but as we're looking towards retirement, in the coming years, like, this will become our, you know, our full-time residence. Our goal has been, since we graduated URI, to get back to Rhode Island full-time. It's taken a little bit, but, you know, we're excited for it.
Thank
Sure.
Thank you, Eric.
Thank you. Anything else? Okay, entertain a motion to close public hearing.
Make a motion.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes 4-0. What is the board's pleasure?
So, I'd like to do findings of fact.
Okay.
So we have the applicant who is Eventides, and the principals are Eric and Carla O'Brien. And they were represented tonight by Michael Monti from Sayer Reagan is there. The property is located at 1108 Succotash Road. And it is Assessor's Plat IJ, Lot 7. And findings of fact, am I supposed to do the existing condition too, or just what they're proposing?
No, you don't need to do that. You can just, yeah, you can start off with, you know, if you want to adopt the findings of fact in the project summary plus any other ones that you want.
Okay. I'd like to propose accepting findings of fact A through L. And also the testimony that was given tonight by Jack Watkins, the architect, Al Diorio, the land surveyor, and the letters of support in the package and the additional letter of support that was given tonight in the exhibits. We had a couple of people speaking in favor. And should I give the requested relief?
You don't have to at this point if those are your findings of fact.
Okay.
You can just do a motion to have the board accept your proposed findings of fact.
I'd like to make a motion for the board to accept my findings of fact.
So moved. Second.
And first and second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries 4-0.
Yeah. And now, Christine, you can do the requested relief. with the
Okay.
motion. Yeah.
So I'd like to make a motion to grant the requested relief of section 4.4 Coastal Resources Overlay District Special Use Permit. And then section 9.1 for non-conforming uses and structure, continuance of special use permit, and section 10.1 alteration of non-conforming structures and uses special permit. And also to have the following conditions that were supplied by staff, numbers 1 through 10. And also, I'd like to make mention that the planning board approved this plan, and the standards met that are in section 11 and 12.
That'll work. Have a second?
Second.
Have a first and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries 4-0.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. This And I get it. Obviously. Okay, next on the agenda is Lakeview Realty, Match Cut, Plat M, Lot 167-72, 4 Lane 2. Yes, sir. You are?
You're not an attorney, are you?
No.
Please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear that the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Please state your name and spell your last.
Jeffrey Brandon, B-R-A-N-N-A-N.
How do you spell your first name?
J-E-F-F-R-E-Y.
Thank you. Let's make it true.
Yep. Tough act to follow, but good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
My name, like I said, is Jeffrey Brannon, JV Custom Homes. I'm the general contractor representing Kristen Naked, Lakeview Realty. Purpose of this application is a special use permit from Breakwater Village to knock down a existing single-family home and construct a new construction single-family home. It's going to have equal coverage. It's conforming all the setbacks, square footage, height requirements, all that good stuff. That's pretty much it.
So you meet all the requirements, you're just looking for a special use permit. You have approval from the Breakwater Village?
Yes.
March 29th. Pretty straightforward. Yes, ma'am?
So some of the findings, some of the testimony we would like to hear, help us make the findings and help us make the determinations. So can you just describe the project, and how it fits into the rest of the area? How does it affect anybody's view, light, access to the water, anything like that? So if you could just talk about that, that would help us a little bit.
Okay. Yep, so the owner, Kristen, kind of the living part of it, she is selling her house in, I believe, Seacon, and she's going to be moving here full-time. She has a daughter who commutes to one of the local colleges, so it's going to be for them. No plans in renting it, it's just a single-family home, 3-bedroom. It's a beautiful design. It's a couple porches. The railings, the aesthetics of it all kind of match the neighborhood. It's conforming to the height restriction of the Breakwater Village. It's not really, on the edge of anything that would be blocking anyone's view. Kind of anyone in the middle of this neighborhood doesn't have a direct view as it is. Yeah, it's plenty of off-street parking and in conformance of basically everything that they could come up with, and does have the planning board's recommendation as well. Any other specific questions on that?
How many bedrooms?
3.
It's going from 2 to 3.
2 to 3, yeah.
Jill, do we have to determine the appropriateness of the height on this, or is that part of this?
You can.
You can. Okay, let's. Are you increasing the height at all?
Yes,
Okay. And what is the maximum height? What's the height of the
28 feet.
28 feet? Okay. Is that, for a lot this size, is that the maximum height? Yes.
Yep, that's
Okay.
correct.
Yeah.
Good.
Sure, thank you. Brian, you want this back?
Yeah, yes, please.
Looks like that's it.
Thank you.
Is there anyone who'd like to speak in favor of this proposal as a proponent? Seeing none, is there any opponents? People who like to speak against this proposal? None either. Okay, if there's no further testimony, then I'll look for a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, it's closed. What is the board's pleasure?
Mr. Chairman, with respect to project summary, Lakeview Realty LLC, tax assessors plat M-167, lot 72. I make a motion to enter the findings of fact as set forth in the project summary. And I would note that the planning board, adding this to the findings of fact, the planning board did approve this project on a vote of 4-0. I will also note that no, I think I'm good. Those are my findings of fact.
I have a motion on the floor. Do we have a second?
Second.
First and a second. All those in favor? Motion carries 4-0.
I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman, how many?
5-0, I'm sorry.
Thank you. Good night. It's getting a little hot here.
Mr. Chairman, again, with respect to project summary, Lakeview Realty, tax assessors plat M-167, lot 72. I make a motion to approve the special use permit requested with the conditions set forth in the project summary. Conditions 1 through 5 in the project summary. We heard testimony from Mr. Jeffrey Brannon, who is a principal of JB Custom Homes, who is the general contractor for the project. He described the project as well as how it affects the surrounding area with respect to air, light, access to water. Does it conform to the, does it, not, it's not greatly, it works with the area, it's standard. And also that staff has indicated that in the project summary that there are no dimensional, there's no dimensional relief or other type of relief requested for this. It complies with all of the FAR and the coverage and the dimensional requirements. So the only relief requested is the special use permit to make this into a newer, beautiful property. So, with that being said, I do make the motion to approve the application for the special use permit, and as well as determine that the height of the project is appropriate.
Can I have a second?
Second.
First and second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Okay. Very long. Okay, next up is not Avery. Next up is McShane, plat Y-1, lot 256, 21 Betty Hill Road.
You were in the cool room, James?
Not really. I was in the stairwell. Hello, Mr. Chair, members of the board. Nice to see you tonight. Thank you for your time. James Callahan of Callahan & Callahan, 3 Brown Street, Whitford. Here tonight on behalf of Alec and Chantel McShane, who are both here tonight and from Switzerland. You may remember some of this matter in some respects, at least maybe 1 or 2 of you on the board.
were here before you in 2021 or 2020 during COVID via Zoom. We asked for the same relief and we got approval. However, unfortunately, due to COVID and the McShane's residence in Switzerland, the permit expired, so we're back before you again. Notably, Alec is a Narragansett native. He actually grew up for a period of time in the house right next door to this house, so it has some sentimental value, obviously. Alec is an executive vice president of an analytic company in Europe, and Chantel is a consultant with offices in Zurich. Alec's mother is Patty Sylvia. She runs the art studio on Boone Street at the corner of Boone and Rodman. They have a great depth of roots here. The McShanes hope to spend more time at this home, which they've owned since 2019 and never actually resided in because it's not in good shape. It's not worth cleaning up to utilize, so they have to stay with their parents for the time being. The project here is hoping to renovate and slightly expand the current two-bedroom home into a two-bedroom home. They will add an office, which will allow Chantel and Alec to work from home while they're here. I don't know who's going to get the office, but that's up to them. And then the lot is obviously undersized. It's in the what's called the narrows of Harbor Island. So altogether, the lot is about 6,890 square feet, and the lot again is located in Harbor Island in R20 zone. The existing structure is 24 by 32. It's only 768 square feet and is a single-family dwelling. Again, this will be a single-family dwelling after renovation if approved. There's a deck on site as well as a shed. The shed will be removed, which is over on the northern side of the home, and in its place where the dark shadow is will be a stairwell. And the stairwell had to be located in that location due to the septic system and the driveway on the southern side. There's really no other place to add that stairwell to allow the second floor to be constructed on the house. The actual lower level is uninhabitable due to the flood zone. So we need a variance on the side setback for the stairwell, and we're asking for a variance on the in the special use permit for the coastal overlay district. Notably, last time we were here, I think we asked for a 16-foot deck to the west. We got approval for 12 feet, and I think the ask now is 14 feet. So we understand if you have some questions about that, we're happy to answer them. Again, this will remain a two-bedroom house. It's really just a improvement for the renovation to allow the McShanes to live there in the summer when they come back to visit. With that, I'd like to ask Alec McShane to come up.
Hey, Jim, can you hold on 1 second?
Sure.
This is a rough night for me, so I just realized when he was testifying that, did you say Patty Sylvia is your mom?
She is. Yeah.
So she's really good friends with my wife. I think I can sit here dispassionately, but it just occurred, I didn't realize that until you just said that, and I didn't make the connection. But.
So that wouldn't be a legal conflict, but as long as you think you can.
Yeah, no, I think I can, yeah. All right.
Unless Mr. Callahan.
No, Jim.
Please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear that the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? So help you God?
I do.
Please state your name and spell your full name for me.
Alec, A-L-E-C, McShane, M-C-S-H-A-N-E.
Thank you.
Alec, where do you live?
Just outside of Zurich in Switzerland.
And how many children do you have?
One, 10-year-old.
And you and Chantel have owned the property at Betty Hill Road since 2019?
Yes.
And have you ever resided there?
No.
And why is that?
It's uninhabitable. Maybe you could convince a student perhaps to live there, but no, yeah.
And do you visit Rhode Island each summer?
Every summer for 5 weeks.
And right now you're living with your mother because of the condition of the home?
Yes.
And what are the renovations you hope to achieve here?
So basically we want to have the first floor as simple kitchen and living room, and then 2 bedrooms on the second floor, one for my son and one for my wife and I.
And is there an office space?
Yeah, there's a small office space that's open to the living area on the first floor.
And the bottom floor, the ground level, that's not habitable, correct?
It's sort of a garage that's like, yeah, it's I guess below the flood zone. I don't know what the technical term is.
And there are 2 bedrooms now in the house, which will remain 2 bedrooms if you get approval.
Exactly.
And is it fair to say you went through a number of iterations here, and the only way you could fit the stairwell to the second floor is on the northern side?
Yes, part of the delay from 2019 until now was like trying to find a creative solution to be able to get up to the second floor, and that was the best solution we could find.
And there's some parking on the southern side and also the eastern side, but also the septic is on the eastern side or southern side as well, correct?
Yes.
And that limits what you can do.
Yes.
And is it fair to say the lot is a unique shape?
Yeah,
The
I think it's fair.
trapezius, if
I think it's fair. Yeah.
And will this renovation allow your family to be able to live, work, and play together basically in the home?
Yes, definitely. I mean, I think our intention is to spend more time than the 5 weeks that we spend here now in the summer.
And the proposed renovation is not due to any physical or economic issue of anyone in your family?
I know.
And the hardship here is based on the size of the home, the shape, size of the lot, correct?
Indeed.
And you're not really seeking to gain financially from this renovation. It's quite the opposite. It's actually going to be quite expensive.
Yes, it's going to be extremely expensive.
And you feel this change will alter the general character of the area in any way?
I think for the better. I mean, from a curb appeal perspective, it should be fitting with the surrounding homes.
And we discussed the comprehensive plan today. From what we understand on our analysis, this proposal is consistent with the comprehensive plan.
Yes.
And again, regarding the deck, the prior proposal back in 2020 was to extend out to 16 feet, correct?
Yes.
And we got approval, I think, for 12.
Yes, I believe so.
And this request is for 14. We're not sure how that came to be, but that's the current request.
Yes.
And if the board saw fit to only allow 12, are you okay with that condition?
We would be okay with that.
And the septic system actually is, I think, a 3-bedroom septic, but you're not planning that.
I think we cannot have 3 bedrooms, from my understanding. We don't really have a need or desire to. I don't know the details, but I understood that we had to have capacity with the septic for 3 bedrooms. But the smallest possible septic would be ideal for us, because the bigger, the more expensive.
And regarding the special use permits for the coastal overlay, is it fair to say that the plan will not impair the public convenience or welfare?
No.
And it will not result in or create conditions that will impair the public health, safety, morals, and general welfare of the area?
It will not.
And will not impair or injure the use of any surrounding property?
No.
If no further questions. Any questions, board?
I have a couple. First, if you talk a little bit more about the deck, what's the purpose of going to 14 feet?
I think because the lot size is so small, and also to keep us off the lawn, close to the water, like that becomes basically the lawn for the property. Is like that's the main outdoor space. You have sort of small bits and pieces and triangles, but no place to kind of gather, to have my parents over for barbecue or whatever. Just that's principally the lawn, and there's an existing boat ramp, which you can see. Just here. So that also kind of eats up any sort of space here in the backyard. Yeah. So this essentially becomes the entire outdoor living space for the property.
And the staircase on the right, north side, has that changed in size?
From the previous time, no.
What other changes have been made from the previous application?
None.
Just the 12 to 14 foot on the deck?
Yeah.
Everything else is the same?
I thought there was another change.
That's it too.
I believe it's just the deck changing in size. It would be closer to the coastal feature. That might be the other change. that you might be referencing, but the size of the deck is just increasing by 2 feet.
Any comments about the denial from the planning board?
No comment.
One question, Jim, the property or when Mr. McShane bought the property, the house was configured as it's depicted here, there haven't been any changes, in other words, he hasn't created the hardship. I know, you know.
Nothing has changed.
And I think this is just an error in the memo that you filed with us. It says 2 children, but I think the testimony is that there's 1, just so we have that.
It feels like 2.
I can ask him that in the hallway.
Well, wait till you have 2, that feels like 4.
That's it. Any further questions from the board? Any other testimony? We're good to go?
No, thank you.
Thank you. Are there anyone who would like to speak in favor of this proposal? Any proponents? Any opponents, those that would like to speak against this proposal? Okay, if there are no further questions from the board, no further testimony, I'll entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
A first and a second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0. With regard to this application, what is the board's pleasure? Who's got it?
I thought I had a different one.
Oh. Are you gonna do it first?
Oh, take your time.
Sorry, I just need a minute. So I'd like to enter into the findings of fact that the applicants are Alex and Chantel McShane, and they were represented by James Callahan. The property is located at 21 Betty Hill Road, Assessor's Plat Y-1, Lot 256. I would like to enter the findings of fact in the project summary A through L, and that this has previously been approved by the zoning board in September 23rd, 2020. And currently, recently, the planning board has denied the application June 5th, 2024. And we heard from Alec McShane tonight. That's what I have for the findings of fact.
Okay, so first, do we have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0.
So I'd like to make a motion to deny the requested section 4.4 coastal freshwater wetlands overlay district for 175-foot variance from special use and the 6.4 dimensional regulations 4-foot side yard setback. To me, it doesn't seem like it's the least relief necessary. The other application they had in was asking for less relief, and I don't believe that this is the least requested.
Ms. Brocha, if I may, if the concern is the additional two feet for this request, you certainly could, if that's the concern, do a motion to approve, but with less relief requested, which would be the 12-foot deck. If it's other parts of the project for which the motion to deny is being proposed, then you should just delineate those. But if it's merely the additional 2 feet, then you certainly could condition any approval upon the deck only being the size of the 2020 approval. If that's your concern. If it's some other concern, then certainly move forward with your motion.
Mr. Chairman, may I ask a question that might make it easier? If the motion was to approve with conditions 1 and 2 and all the rest of the conditions, that would accomplish what you were saying, is that right?
Correct, yes,
Okay.
exactly. So essentially, you're not
Yeah.
denying the application, you're just approving it with...
With those modifications that bring it, no, I was just saying.
Yes.
No, so you can put a condition in however you like. Condition 1 is specifically related to the side yard setback, which is, I believe, the
Right.
stairwell.
Right.
So if that's a concern, then that condition 1 references that. Condition number 2 would bring the deck back to its current location. It would pull the deck back to its current location. The project was previously approved, you can see it, it's up there, it's already signed. It was previously approved at 12 feet, which is beyond the deck that currently exists, but not as much as what they're
Okay.
asking
All right.
for today.
All right. Okay.
So what was previously approved at 12 feet is closer to the coastal feature than what is there today.
It is, and at the zoning board meeting, it was actually reduced. So the zoning board did take that into consideration at that time, and they brought it back to 12 feet. So, Ms. Brasher, so let me just say a little bit more about that, because I just want to clarify, at that time, it was triggering other relief, and so the board at that time voted to reduce the size of the deck to not trigger additional relief. They were asking for 16 feet or something.
Okay. So, I would like to accept it, except for, at the side yard setback, and then put the deck back to where it was originally approved for.
So the motion would be for approval with the same dimensions as, was approved in the 2020 application.
Yes.
Is that including the side yard setback?
Including the side yard.
That was your motion?
That's my motion.
Okay, we included all the conditions?
accepting the conditions, then the rest of the conditions that are in the project summary.
With the exception of one, correct? Okay, okay.
And 6.
And then I would like to make an amendment to number 6. That's the wrong date. I must have forgotten to change it. It should read January 5th, 2020.
Instead of September 9th.
Not September 9th, 2019.
I just have a question. On the maps, I can't find Bonnet Point Road next to this property. And it's cited in section number 7.
That should be redacted.
Okay.
Yes, correct. Bonnet Point Road's near my house.
Nowhere near that.
Nowhere near that.
Okay. Okay, we have a motion on the floor. Clarification for the motion. The motion is to
Yeah, okay, clarification.
grant the relief requested with reduction of the deck back to the original size of 2021 approval. Is that what it was, 21?
It's 2022.
2020,
2020, sorry.
2020.
Yes,
September
2020.
With conditions 2 through 10.
12.
With amended conditions in a couple of them, I think 2 through 10.
2 through 12.
2 through 12.
2 through 12. Everyone clear
I'm
on
sorry,
that?
3 through 12,
So
thank you.
so the relief we're giving is identical to the prior?
Yes, yes. Okay, everyone clear on that?
Mhm.
Okay. We have a motion on the floor. Do we have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries 5-0. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Moving right along. So C6 is James Worthy, Plat M, 167-110, 15 Lane 3. Yes, sir.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Thank you for the opportunity to present before you. My name is John Bevilacqua Jr., Bevilacqua and Bevilacqua, 145 Phoenix Avenue, Cranston, Rhode Island. I represent both Mr. Joseph and Mrs. Cheryl Zangrilli. We're coming before you today for a special use permit to build a 2-story dwelling and a dimensional variance as well for Plat 167 Lot 10, I'm sorry, Plat M 167-Lot 10. They are seeking to construct a 30 by 24, excuse me, 2-story, 2-bed, single-family dwelling with a 10 by 24-foot porch and a 4 by 10 covered entryway that also will be part of a 2nd-story deck. The proposed building will be covering approximately 640 square feet of the lot. Said improvements are reflected in the proposed site plan completed by Mr. Christopher Palmer dated April 26th of this year. And we also have a floor and elevation plan completed by DLR Dimensions, Inc., dated April 1st of this year, which have been submitted to this board. Sun deck, which is requested, is approximately within the 87 square foot allowance. You're only seeking 80 square feet. The floor area ratio is 0.49, which was allowable under the prior regulations that this board may still consider and adopt. The dwelling height is proposed at 23 feet 11 inches, which is under the 26 feet permitted for a 2,000 to 2,400 square foot parcel size. This project does comply with the comprehensive plan of the town, and as proposed will not substantially permit injury or substantially or permanently injure the use of any surrounding property. As a matter of fact, it's going to look pretty much like every other surrounding home in the neighborhood. I say pretty much because I don't know paint color, things of that nature. The granting of this special use will not alter the general characteristics, of the surrounding area, and will not substantially serve. And it will substantially serve the public convenience and welfare. There will be on-site park, there will be no traffic issues, and it will not result in or create any condition that will harm the public health, safety, morals, or general welfare. So the variances that we are seeking are a setback. It's easier for me from the paper, but I have the same as you do. We're seeking a variance. Let me get my notes. Our proposed setback of 5.1 feet on the rear yard, which the new regulations are 5 feet, but the prior ones were 6 feet. The floor ratio of 0.49, And it says the structure height, but I think we're within that structure height as I pulled up the regulations just this morning from the town website. The purpose of this building is Mr. and Mrs. Zangrilli are going to make this their permanent home. Now, the first floor, as you could see from the building plans, a lot of the entryways are 36 feet. I'm sorry, 36 feet, that's a lot. Sorry, 36 inches, which it is bigger than the house. Thank you, Joe. Sorry, the heat's getting to me. They are 36 feet. Reason being is that Mrs. Zangrilli does require assistance as she is handicapped, and I believe the condition will not improve, and she'll probably require other means just to get around the house. There's a first floor bedroom, which, because of these extra large entryways, extra large hallways, and means for her to just get around kitchen, bathroom, it restricted them from putting a second bedroom, which they would like to enjoy with their grandchildren and children as they visit. This application the plans were drafted according to the prior regulations from when they bought the prior home. And, you know, as new regulations were adopted this year, it seems it's hamstrung them to some effect. Now, that canopy they're asking for, which we are asking for, the special use for, is to help Mrs. Zangrilli as she enters and exits the home. It does take her some time to get in and out of the house. It does take quite a bit to just get to the car. So that overhang, which does include now what would be a sun deck, is just to keep the elements away from Mrs. Zangrilli while it takes some time to maneuver her around.
And where is that on?
Oh, that is on the,
Okay,
there's the pointer. Oh, that would be right there, if I'm not mistaken.
there's a covered entry, yes.
I'm sorry?
I said that, so I see it says covered
Yeah, that's
entry.
the entryway, so that's the overhang, and then there's a sun deck, which creates the relief they need to get Mrs. Zangrilli in and out of the house. This parcel is on the larger side of the surrounding properties, and I believe a comprehensive boundary survey was emailed to the board. I don't know if they received said copies, just to show the setbacks of all the neighboring properties, which are all actually less than what we're asking. If I may, I do have copies if the board would like to review.
Mr. Vice Chairman, that was what I had emailed to you before.
Okay.
May I?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
As an exhibit?
I'm sorry?
Would you like to
Yes,
submit
if we
as an
may
exhibit?
submit as a full exhibit. So if you'll see to the properties both from the southwest and northeast, we have rear setbacks of 4.9 on the southwest, and 4.8 of the McGee property. The Carpenter property, we have setbacks of 3.9. And then on the Lane 4 properties, towards the back, we have setback lines of 3.1, 2.9, and 4.8. So it's well within the characteristics of the direct abutting structures. The average setback as proposed by Mr. Palmer range between 3.2 and 3.9 in the surrounding area. So we're simply asking for the same relief that already exists for all the abutting properties. Now, as far as height, I know there was mention for height, but as I read the regulation, I believe we're within the height regulations, but as stated, it was, it says 23, but when I pulled them up today, it was still around 26 for this size parcel. However, when I looked at the plan with this sun deck and the pitch of the roof, any alteration that would put the pitch closer to a flat roof. And the sun deck isn't for aesthetic purposes. It's really not for the sun deck. It's just a nice little addition because the overhang would be required for Mrs. Zangrilli.
So for clarification, is 2311 is the requirement?
It's what we're asking, 2311.
They're asking for 2311, but the regulations for zoning in Breakwater District changed in 2024, and that must have been, I don't think it's updated online just
Okay.
yet, so.
Well, I
it is
think that's
20.
where I need to clarify, because I pulled them up directly
Yeah.
about 3 hours, let's say 4 hours ago,
Yeah.
just for clarification purposes.
Yeah, so.
But even at 23, this is the relief we're seeking and the reason why. To put that second story, there really wouldn't be much we could do with the roof height, so it's kind of 6 in one, half dozen in the other for the Zangrillis.
So while we're here discussing this, I need to ask why the Breakwater Village Review denied the application.
If I may bring up Mr. Zangrilli, I wasn't present at that meeting.
You
So-
just want, sir?
Yes, this morning.
Please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear that the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Please state and spell your name.
Joseph Zangrilli, Zangrilli Jr.
Thank you.
So they denied it because we had designed we bought the property in '23. We designed it based on the '23 standards. When I submitted it to them, they said, oh, these changed and we can't approve it. You have to go to the town. And then I got a letter the next day, 2 days later, saying, these are the new regs. I was like, well, thanks a lot. I already spent all this money. So, but I have to say the towns are very good to work with, so I feel confident that what we designed is well within the other houses in the neighborhood. And I don't think I'm seeking an over ask on the relief. But it was all designed, it was less than this 2023 original settings. And then that's when they denied, and I got the letter in May, we submitted everything in April. So that's the reason why they denied it. So as the planning board said, they were kicking the can down the road to you guys.
That's my next question. So what does that do to this board? If Breakwater Village.
So what I was
Now,
told.
what's the
Nothing?
legal effect of
Okay.
that?
Yeah,
Wait a
Hearing
minute, hold
nothing.
on.
No legal effect.
Okay.
It's like the
They
Bond
kicked it
Shores
down.
Architectural Committee
Yeah,
has no legal.
Okay.
So what they had told me is that we get the relief approved by the town, that they would approve it. If there's, whatever changes had to be made, we just resubmit it and they would honor whatever the town approved. That was the last communication I had with them.
Thank you. So while we're there, let's talk about the planning board as well, because they also denied it. Got a lot of
Yes,
denials.
Mrs. Zangrilli can speak to that as well,
Please do.
Mr. Chairman.
Again, after all the information was provided, they said they didn't have the authority to make those changes and grant the special request. And told me that it would be up to the zoning board to make that decision.
I believe it's because there is a variance and a special use being applied for it.
Yeah, so let me speak to that, because we're in ever-changing legal. So, last year they tried, there's a case, the Newton case, which you know from Mr. McGreen, is when you have a special use permit and a dimensional variance together, it becomes a use variance. Last year they they wrote a law that was trying to get rid of it, and they didn't do it. Like the other laws, they screwed it up. However, in this batch of laws, they changed it to now allow a special use permit and a dimensional variance together, and the standard does not rise to a use variance. It stays separate, like we had on some of our items. To add to this, that change was, the law was effective after the application was submitted, but before this hearing. It was effective June 27th or something like
So
that.
it seems Mrs. Zangrilli is a test case.
So that was the first words out of the board, the architectural board, was, we're the first one asking for this, so we can't make that decision.
So, again, you know, obviously, but you still, you would still review the matter under the dimensional, you know, standards and the special use standards, but it does not rise to a special use permit anymore for any reason. A use variance would simply be a use variance if you were in a commercial zone with a residential.
So just to be clear,
Sure.
they're also seeking a height variance and a FAR variance?
So, no, you can, those are all dimensional, you can approve or deny based upon if they met the standards of a dimensional variance, the normal standards. So, but it's not a use standard, it would be the normal, you know, comprehensive plan, not the, you know, not the prior, fault of the applicant, etc.
Well, the only reason I ask is that in the staff, in the project summary, there's a line on page 3 of 6 that says in this lot's case, the applicant is seeking dimensional relief for building height and FAR, which is not an allowable variance in conjunction with a special use permit. Therefore, the variance requested does not meet and may trigger the use variance.
And that is no longer, that is no
Okay.
longer
So we don't-
applicable.
All right, good.
Okay.
It was
But,
printed.
but they still have to prove that.
Okay.
Again, that was after the law became effective, after
Gotcha.
Ryan wrote it, but before today.
So,
And the only thing I want to say is the house we're proposing is still not as high as the two on both sides of us. It's still a few inches shorter than the other houses. And that's all I have to say, so I'm not allowed to say.
Thank you.
Can you, is there any way to reduce the floor area ratio? I mean, I don't think we've ever approved a FAR variance.
Well, the floor area ratio was created to accommodate Mrs. Zangrilli. They would have tried to keep it, even try to keep everything on a single floor, but because of her continuing and evolving need to get around the house, this was the minimum that they could come up with. There's a, Mr. Zangrilli, as he has told me, this is going to be their permanent home, time at home to spend time with family as well, and they want to make it as easy for Mrs. Zangrilli. And I don't think they're asking for too much as far as the floor area. And as I stated before, it did meet the prior regulations with the court, which this board can revert back to if appropriate. And considering Mrs. Zangrilli's condition, I think this would be that type of situation.
Ryan, do you have the square footage of that, the canopy? Can you tell that?
Of the canopy?
It's 4 by, it's
I can't tell from this.
It would be 40 square feet.
4
So it's 4 by 10?
by 10.
is that contributing to the 135 feet that they?
No,
Nope, because that is considered a sun deck, and
that's why it's a sun deck.
yeah, 4.8.16I.
Say it, wait a minute, say it again.
Sorry, 4.8.16I states that sun decks up to 10% of the GFA shall be allowed without deduction from allowable FAR, and that falls within that.
So it comes down to square footage of the main floor.
That's correct.
So Steve, I guess I have a question about it. So we've had a bunch of these FAR variances before us, and we've always been kind of disinclined and struggled with them to grant them. But I mean, is there? It just seems unreasonable to me that there's not an exception to that when you particularly have a situation where a disabled person you may need to expand the footprint in order to allow those accommodations to be made, and the best architect in the world can't squeeze it under, reduce another 135 feet.
And that may be the, two things. One is the dimensional request modest? And two is there a valid reason for the dimensional request other than I just want a bigger house?
They're seeking to retire, they're looking for smaller, so that they're looking to downsize.
And also, I believe the FAR is in what would be a modification request. So if it wasn't for some of the other dimensional requests, this wouldn't have come to the board. The FAR dimensional request wouldn't have come to the board. It would have been granted administratively.
There is a chart on page 2 that underlines what would be granted via 15% modification. And I believe the only one that wouldn't be considered is a front yard setback.
So it's just the front yard that brought it here.
Okay.
Push it back, and there's more problems in the rear. I derailed your commentary, Mr. Bevilacqua, so did you have more that you wanted to present?
No, I believe that will conclude the presentation for this evening, Mr. Chairman.
Any further questions, Mr. Bevilacqua, at the moment? Good.
Yeah.
I believe there's a question, Mr. Chairman.
I have a question of staff, if I can. When looking at the planning board's recommendation for denial, they said the project is not in compliance with the development and performance standards. Can you tell me what that means?
That's a no.
Such a no.
Mr. Zangrilli was present, he could probably elaborate.
I think
If
'cause
the board would like.
I'm actually asking just to,
Well, you know, if I remember correctly, when they give a reason for denial, there's a, I'll call it, for lack of a better term, there's a laundry list of reasons. And one of the reasons they stated were development standards. I take development standards as dimensional standards.
do you? Okay.
That's the way I interpret the development standards. I mean, it could be parking, I mean, it could be other development standards like parking and softscape and hardscape, but in Breakwater Village, it's really just size, you know, dimensional requests. So that's the way I interpret the lack of conformance to development standards is basically the request.
You think it's the so you think that that's dimensional?
Correct.
What are performance standards?
Go ahead.
Okay, I believe it was one, that's one
One
item,
Okay.
yes.
It's like a catch-all.
It's, there are 16 different items that the planning board specifically looks at in section
Okay.
18.5 of your ordinance.
Okay.
And so they look at those standards, the last one, number 16, is there's other alternatives to the project. So, and then they also look at the zoning board standards as well.
And I have to say, like, I read that in there, in this project summary. They put this in all the time. When they get to that, there are available alternatives, but that really provides us no information whatsoever, in my opinion. I mean, it should be there are no reasonable alternatives. Obviously, given the testimony, I don't think there are any other reasonable alternatives. So I'm just curious why they send that to us.
So at
It's
the
not
time
helpful to us.
well, at the time that the planning board heard this, I just want to remind the board, it was still the use variance.
Oh.
So they were reviewing it under a much higher standard.
All right. So that's helpful to know. All right. Okay.
Any other witnesses?
No, this is the only witness. Mr. Palmer couldn't be here this evening, unfortunately.
All right, let's move on to opponents, proponents. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak in favor of this proposal?
I would.
Please stand up and be sworn.
Excuse me.
Sure. Please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear that the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? Please state your name and spell your last.
Patricia Durigan, D-U-R-I-G-A-N.
Thank you.
I don't have anything to do with this request. I wasn't asked to speak. And my question is this whole discussion about the overhang for the protection?
I'm not sure I understand the question.
So I would just say that this is public comment, unfortunately. You can say whatever you want, but it's not really a question and answer between you and the board. It's just, it's your comment.
Okay, well, my comment would be, I helped my parents take care of my 67-year-old severely disabled brother in a wheelchair. And I can attest to the fact, getting in and out of a home and into a car in elements is really difficult. Sometimes my brother would be soaking wet if there was a certain downpour and we had to walk to the car to get him in. So I would say he definitely needs this overhang.
Thank you. Thank you. Any other proponents who would like to speak in favor? Are there any opponents, people like to speak against this proposal? Hearing none, does the board have any further questions? Entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
Have a first and properly second. All those in favor?
Aye.
What is the board's pleasure?
I'd like to enter into the findings of the facts that the owner is Zangrilli, Plat M, Lot 167-110, 15 Lane 3. I would like to move that the findings of the facts accept the findings A through J in the project summary. We heard from Mr. Zaccarelli about the breakwater denial, and since the application was submitted, obviously the regulations have changed, both in the state and town, and also breakwater, so that makes it difficult. We also heard from one person in favor. The relief requested is noted in the project summary, which is the breakwater, which we've addressed, and the special use permit, as well as the various variances for setbacks. I believe that's it. Do I have to mention anything else?
Yeah, correct.
Okay.
That would be your motion for findings of fact.
That was my motion for finding of fact.
Okay. Do I have a second?
Second.
First and properly second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0.
I would like to make a motion to approve the relief requested, given the circumstances in that some of the regulations have changed recently, and the hardship as well. I believe there are no modifications that could be made to get by the variances requested. I believe that's it.
Conditions? There's 6 conditions on page 3.
I would like to enter that the 6 conditions in the project summary remain intact. I don't think there's any modifications we need to make to those.
Mr. Chairman, if I may?
Yes.
I would suggest that you maybe redact condition number 2, and then rephrase it to say something along the lines of that the project be resubmitted to the Breakwater Village ARC committee at an as-needed basis.
Good point. Yeah, we'd like to amend number 2, that at the outcome of this meeting, that it be sent back to the Breakwater Village Association for their hopeful approval as well. That's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0.
Thank you very much.
Yes, sir.
Welcome to Narragansett.
I used to be here all the time. A long time.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, yes.
Aye.
5 minutes, give me a 5-minute break. You got it.
Thank you.
Last but not least on the agenda, if I can find it, is Twin Willows. Let's see your agenda, please. Any page two. I got it. Okay, C7, Twin Willows, Durgan, plat NH, lot 268, 865 Boston Neck Road.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes,
I
ma'am.
have to recuse myself from this matter.
Do you need to fill the forms to
I have them here,
She
I'm
has
gonna do
it.
that
Yep.
after.
Thank you. And you're still gonna act as secretary?
Yes.
Thank you.
I was told I could.
I heard that too. Yes, sir.
Good evening.
Good evening.
My name is Attorney John Cooper, K-U-P-A, the law office at 20 Oakdale Road in North Kingstown. I'm here representing the applicant. Gives you the original affidavit for notice. This is the application of the Durgans, the Twin Willows, to increase for two special use permits, or actually 3 special use permits, having to do with 6.1, 10.1, and the use table. One of them will allow an increased liquor service. Evidently, Narragansett has a requirement if you're going to increase space and serve liquor in that space, you have to get permission. The other two are the increase by less than 25% of the footprint. By your zoning ordinances, we're allowed to do that if we meet certain criteria. And tonight we have several experts that I'm going to present. And without further ado, let's get Mr. Henderson.
Please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear that the testimony you are about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Please state your name and spelling last.
Christopher John Henderson, Henderson.
Thank you.
Mr. Henderson, where are you employed?
The architecture?
And are you a registered architect?
Yes.
You're registered in the state of Rhode Island?
Yes.
Do you have the education that follows that registration?
Yes, I do.
And have you appeared before other zoning boards in the state of Rhode Island as an expert?
Yes.
Have you appeared before planning commissions as an expert?
Yes.
Have you been accepted as such?
Yes.
Unless you want me to go through his
No, sir.
qualifications.
Mr. Cooper, for the purposes of this hearing, Mr. Henderson will be recognized as an expert witness in architecture.
Thank you. All right, do we have the plan? Okay, Mr. Henderson, would you please just go through the plan for the board?
Okay, so this is Boston Neck Road here. So this is the front of the building. On the back of the building, we're proposing an expansion of the dining area here and the kitchen in this area. This is the al fresco dining as it is now. We're proposing enclosing that. And this is the existing outdoor seating area.
Now, the al fresco dining, that exists now, correct?
It's an open deck with a railing around it, and there's partial foundation underneath. For the expansion in this area, we will be putting in a more proper foundation.
What is the current square footage of the structures?
The expanded dining area is approximately 420 square feet. The expanded kitchen area here is about 176 square feet.
How about the size of the main building?
The main building, I have the overall footprint. I don't have the square footage for the existing here. Let's see if I can find it. 3,865 square feet for the indoor dining area.
Okay, with the al fresco?
That doesn't include the al fresco. Including the al fresco, 973 square feet should total 4,838 square feet.
So this, the addition of the enclosed area on, that you show in red, that amounts to only 596 square feet?
Yes.
Okay. And is that less than 25% of the overall building?
Yes.
And it's closer to 12%, correct?
Yes.
The exterior appearance of the building as you have reviewed and designed it, is it going to change at all?
The exterior of the building, we're going to improve it.
Okay. What are you going to do?
We're going to be adding some window systems here that can fold back like a nano wall system, but only from sort of a guardrail or railing height up will be a window system that can fold back and open up.
How about the front of the building?
The front of the building, we're proposing some minimum upgrades just along the front end here.
What would those upgrades be? Windows?
Yeah, some windows, trying to fix the parapet wall, you know, the parapet at the roof line.
So this is this going to substantially change the exterior of the structure?
No, only on the back side where the addition is.
The front will basically appear the same, correct?
Basically, yes.
Okay, I don't have any further questions for Mr. Henderson. Does the board have any?
Oh, I do have one. The deck to the right, north side, is that the existing deck?
This
Yes.
here,
Yes.
that's an existing outdoor seating area at grade level.
Okay.
It's at grade level. It's been a while.
I'm trying to remember this too. I'm trying to just remember where the al fresco is too. So it's the
The al fresco is the
is that
existing
section there.
deck.
Okay.
That's the raised deck there.
Got it.
These steps.
We're not doing anything with refrigerations or pads for coolers or things like that, right? Everything's still the same.
All contained.
Anything else before? Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Next, I'm going to call Edward Pimento.
Do you solemnly swear that the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do. Edward Pimentel for the record. P as in Paul, I-M-E-N-T-E-L.
Thank you.
Mr. Pimento, where do you work?
I am the zoning official for the city of East Providence by day, and I own a consulting practice.
What's your consulting practice called?
Pimentel Consulting Incorporated.
Mr. Pimento, have you been accepted as a expert witness in practically all the municipalities in the state?
All 38 cities and towns outside of the city that I work for municipally.
And you've appeared before zoning boards, planning commissions?
Many times, I was here last month before this body.
Did they accept you at that time as an expert?
They did.
I'd ask Mr. Chair.
No problem.
Except
Very
the
familiar.
world famous Mr. Pimento
Yes,
was.
for the purposes of this hearing, he will be recognized as an expert in environmental, in planning, correct? Planning?
Land use planning.
Land use planning. Thank you.
Thank you.
I know you have a presentation.
Yes.
Go ahead.
Sure. So there are several standards, obviously, that we need to meet pursuant to the ability to and make the necessary improvements by special use permit. As this board now knows, under the new Rhode Island general law, a special use permit now, what used to be acknowledged by case law as conditionally permitted, now has been actually cemented. They are conditionally permitted, subject to specific and objective standards. I'm getting a little bit into the weeds now because I found out there's going to be a challenge to this, so I've got to put everything on the record. It's interesting. The property is very interesting from the following perspective. This property is actually classified commercial in accordance with your comprehensive plan. The anomaly is the current zoning of the property, because zoning is supposed to be consistent with the comprehensive plan. That's always been the law, but that was now cemented as of March 1st of this year. The brand new law that just went into effect. I'm going to read you what was in effect up until March 1st and what the March 1st one says now. So up until March 1st of this year, it stated what the necessary elements were, and under the land use element, the line was that the future land use map, and I want to read it before and after so we understand exactly what the change was. So the land use component shall specify the process and schedule by which the zoning ordinance and zoning map shall be amended to conform to the comprehensive plan and shall be included as part of the implementation. That was the old language. But what was happening was, because of inconsistencies between comp plan and zoning, because communities weren't getting around to render those consistencies, and you're supposed to be basing the overall vision and design and what the expectations are from a development perspective of your community, pursuant to your comprehensive plan, because it is the foundation of all laws. The zoning ordinance is just but one mere tool to ensure you realize the goals and objectives and vision of your comp plan. So in cementing this, as of March 1st, the future land use map, this is new language, and a valid comprehensive plan, which the town of Narragansett has, shall govern all local municipal land use decisions. That means what we see today is absolutely by right, in accordance with the comprehensive plan, and now in accordance with Rhode Island general law. We're still abiding by the fact that you have this anomaly of an inconsistent zone. It's zone residential. Not only does your future land use map state that this should be, but this property is in the special district of the Bonnet Shores and the Boston Neck Road. Within that special district, it states that this property should be commercially improved in accordance with your regulations. Why it hasn't been rezoned is beyond me, but that's a moot point to me, because now we're following Rhode Island general law. Out of respect, because you have this inconsistent within your zoning regs, we made sure we maintained that 25% maximum requirement. So we made sure that we met those standards, those specific and objective standards that now went into law as of January 1st of this year. Because prior to that, there used to be requirements like these innocuous subjective requirements, and the law, and Rhode Island general law says no more. You must apply specific and objective standards. We're meeting under the 25%. We're respecting. I went around that neighborhood. I went there on several occasions, evenings, days, weekends. I went through the back neighborhood, looking at, because my course of concern as a municipal planner is the improvements. Are we respectful of the neighborhood? There's a residential neighborhood to the rear. There's huge growth there for purposes of visually buffering and noise buffering. It's all in my report, because obviously you want to be a good neighbor. Obviously. The intent of all developments is to be a good neighbor. But under the law, you're also entitled to what you're entitled to. And we are absolutely entitled to the improvements that we are seeking tonight. The standards, because it's got to be specifically noted that you can seek the requisite relief by the ordinance. So that would be section 10.1 and section 12, which allows us to pursue as long as it doesn't exceed the 25%. As I noted, one of the concerns is, are we in any other overlay districts that would trigger other relief? We are not. Are we consistent with the comprehensive plan? Beyond a shadow of a doubt we are, and we are cemented by the Rhode Island general law. And then the other standards are more to do with the architectural and other experts that are here tonight. Those were the two standards I concentrated on, and I just felt that I had to get that on the record tonight because obviously the situation is the situation. I don't know if the board has any questions, or if any questions from council.
Let's see. Will this use comply with all applicable requirements of development performance standards in Section 4, Section 7 of the zoning ordinance?
That is correct. We do not trigger any other overlay issues because there are other criteria for special use. We're not in any coastal or freshwater or any of those types of situations.
I think you've testified to this, but will this use be in harmony with the general purpose and intent of the ordinance and the comprehensive plan of Narragansett?
Yes, I actually excerpted several goals and objectives of the comprehensive plan about the concerns of this community in realizing a stable tax base. It's heavily reliant on a residential, which is not sustainable, and then for that reason, it talks about ensuring that all of those appropriately, presently improved commercial properties are developed to the fullest extent in accordance with the requirements of the comprehensive plan. And we're doing that.
Granting of the special use permit will substantially serve the public convenience and welfare.
Absolutely, and it's been serving for 65 plus years. It's been a well-established, recognized entity on that roadway. But once again, it's recognized by several elements of the comprehensive plan.
Will this use result in or create conditions inimical to the public health, safety, morals, or general welfare?
No, it will not.
And will it substantially or permanently injure the appropriate use of the surrounding properties?
Absolutely not.
And there's a pretty good buffer between this and the surrounding.
I took photographs on various occasions, various periods. We've been working on this project for a lengthy period, purposely for that reason, to make sure that it would be appropriately integrated with the neighborhood to the rear.
In addition to that, any effect to the air, light, views, or solar access?
No, not at all.
Any adverse impact to public access to water bodies, rivers, streams?
No. So in conclusion, I just want to put this on the record, and this is goal LU1 of your comprehensive plan. I don't usually read these things verbatim, but I feel like we have to right now. It says to make local land use decisions in an open and transparent environment based on sound planning principles. It goes on to say, ensure that the comprehensive plan reflects the town's vision of its future. And finally, it states, make all land use decisions in accordance with that future land use map, as now cemented on March 1st by Rhode Island General Law this year.
Mr. Pimentel, are you satisfied, based on your research, that the proposal will not have an adverse impact on the neighborhood or be detrimental to surrounding properties?
No, it will have no detrimental impact whatsoever.
Does everybody have Mr. Pimentel's report?
Yes, he's not.
Any questions?
Thank you.
Next, I'd like to call William E. Coyle, please.
Please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear that the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Please state your name and spell your last.
I'm William E. Coyle III, C-O-Y-L-E, I-I-I.
Thank you.
Mr. Coyle, where are you employed?
I'm the owner of William E. Coyle Jr. Associates, also known as Coyle Appraisal Companies,
How long have you been in appraisal?
for over 50 years.
Any registration with that?
I'm certified certified appraiser for the state of Rhode Island, Commonwealth of Massachusetts currently. I also have earned the MAI designations, SREA designations, SRA designations for real estate appraisal.
Have you ever given expert testimony before?
I have testified in all 39 cities and towns in the state and surrounding Commonwealth of Mass.
How about Superior Court?
Superior Court, Federal Court, District Court.
Have you been recognized as an expert in all those?
I have, including this board.
I would ask that he be qualified as an expert in the field of real estate appraisal and consulting.
For the purposes of this hearing, Mr. Coyle will be recognized as an expert in real estate appraisal.
Mr. Chairman, I have some, these are his qualifications, and you can pass them down, please. You have a report. This is also a copy of the report that Mr. Coyle did.
Mr. Cooper, would you like these up, submitted as an
Yes, I asked that his report be submitted as our Exhibit A. Obviously, you have an application with all of the other materials in it, including Mr. Pimentel's report. Are you familiar with the neighborhood and the character of the uses that exist in this area?
Yes, sir, I am.
Are you familiar with the petition and our request for special use permits?
Amen.
Can you briefly describe the area and the character uses that exist in the area?
As everyone knows, the 101 is a mixed use of residential and commercial, as is the subject property. There's a dominant feature here overlooking Bonnet Shores, and it's, you know, basically residential and commercial along the road.
Have you inspected the property? Reviewed the plans submitted?
Yes, sir, I have.
At my request, have you reviewed the petition to determine if the proposed use will result in any adverse impact to the surrounding properties in the neighborhood in general?
I have.
Will you explain to the members of the board what steps you have taken to ensure you understand the nature of the proposal and what information studies you've utilized to establish your opinion?
I obviously inspected the subject property. I've been to the property on many occasions throughout the years, obviously, and for the purpose of this meeting, I have inspected it again, looked at the plans. From a real estate appraisal standpoint, basically is the squaring off of the back portion of the building, where it's currently now jagged in this location, over here in this location right here, is about the only thing. So it's basically squaring off this piece. So from a practical standpoint, the question to me is, would this additional piece cause some diminution or change in value of any kind to any of the surrounding properties, be they residential or commercial? And based on the siting of the building itself, the current operations that are going on in the area itself, I have reached the opinion that adding this squaring off or enclosing the decks would have absolutely no impact on any valuation models for residential and commercial.
Will granting the proposal alter the general character of the surrounding area?
Absolutely not. It's a restaurant and would remain a restaurant.
Will the granting of the petition impair the intent or purpose of the zoning ordinance to the best of your knowledge?
In my opinion, based on my reading and reports that I've read regarding it, I believe it will be in full conformity.
Are you aware of any feature of this proposal that would disrupt the neighborhood or privacy of abutting owners by excessive noise, light, glare, lumens?
In my opinion, no.
You're satisfied from your research that this proposal will have no adverse effect on the impact of the neighborhood
That is my conclusion.
or be detrimental to surrounding property values?
I believe it will have no impact on any surrounding property value.
Any questions from the board?
Yes, sir.
With that, I respectfully request that the board grant our application. The Twin Willows has been here in excess of 65 years. Pictures on the wall show it from the horse and buggy days. I grew up down on South River Drive at my grandparents' house since 1971, when they were still living. And came by the Twin Willows often. And when I got to be 18, spent a little time there. But then I went to PC. In any event, the Narragansett would appreciate your positive vote so they can continue on with their restaurant.
Thank you, Mr. Cooper. Okay, is there anyone who would like to speak in favor of this application? Seeing none, are there any opponents that would like to speak?
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, Mr. Chairman and members of the board. My name is Edward Perry, P-A-R-E. I am an attorney and I'm representing Robert Struck and John Struck, who live downslope this way and directly abut the Twin Willows property. And I'm here to voice their objection to this proposal as submitted. Before I get into the two larger concerns, I'd just like to respond to 2 points that my friend Mr. Pimentel raised earlier. The first thing is the change in the law in 2024. Irrespective of the change in the law, according to the project summary that I saw submitted in connection with this project, the application is being reviewed under the 2023 zoning regulations. So to the extent that there's an argument that they don't need the special use permit under section 6.1, 9.1, and section 10.1, we fundamentally disagree with that. And I also did not hear that that 2024 change in the law has any retroactive application, especially as it relates to this application. So that's just a fundamental disagreement that we have. The second thing is I wanted to provide a little context. I think the question was flatly asked, what happened with the zone change, or why the difference between what the comprehensive plan says on the future land use map and what the actual zone is, which is residential R40. I can personally attest that there was a lengthy process in front of the town council in 2021 where the town was looking to enact that zone change, to take it from R40 to commercial. And that was rejected after a number of hearings on a 4-to-1 vote. So that's the reason. And the town council made its voice clear, what's the use of this property? It remains an R40. The zone change was rejected. And the idea was when they revamped the comprehensive plan again, that they would fix the inconsistency. But to the extent that there was any question as to what the town council thought about what this zone should be for this property, it's, as it always has been, R40, and it remains a non-conforming use. The next, maybe the biggest issue, and for the life of me, I've been doing math all afternoon. I am a lawyer, that is not my specialty. That's it. What I haven't heard here tonight, and for the life of me I cannot figure out, is what the footprint of the building was as of October 11th, 1989. That's what the ordinance calls for, that's the governing standard. The 25% limitation is fixed in time from that 1989 date forward. And I haven't heard and don't know what the actual footprint of the building was as of October 11th, 1989. What I can glean from what I would consider a pretty liberal application of the math is that there's a 4,838 foot footprint. I think that was the testimony earlier. In 1991, there was a zone, an application for a 320 square foot expansion of the structure for a kitchen, a 16 by 20. In 1993, there was a 38-foot expansion. I think it had to do with stairs off the kitchen. And that's based on a decision that was recorded in 1993. So we take what it is now, the structure, if I could get the site plan up too, it might be a little easier to follow. If the existing structure, as of now, is 4,838, and we subtract the expansion in 1993 of 320 square feet, and we subtract the expansion in 1993 of 38 square feet, we get down to a number, a baseline of 4,480 square feet. Now, I don't actually know, and I have not heard evidence that that was the existing footprint as of what the ordinance calls for, October 11th, 1989. But let's assume that it was. 25% of 4,480 is 1,120 square feet. They've eaten up 320 plus 38 plus now another 595. That takes them up to 953. So they were getting really close to that 25% threshold. And I think it's really important that the board is cognizant of that 25% threshold, because as much math and plans as we talk about here tonight, there's an implicit bargain there. That's the community saying you have a non-conforming use and we're going to give you a buffer. We'll tolerate up to 25%. But what we don't know is A, what the existing footprint was in 1989, B, why this shed, which I believe is over 300 square feet, why these existing walk-in coolers, basically taking a fridge and moving it outside, why those aren't counting as accessory structures towards the lot coverage, towards the existing footprint. Layer onto that the expansion of the enclosure of this, the alfresco dining area. When you start doing the math, you start getting way past the 1,120 square feet. I'm not going to break all of that math down, but what I don't know, and again what I have not heard, is what the existing footprint was as of 1989, and where does that line draw in the sand from 20 to take 25% and move it forward. It's not under this ordinance, 25% as of now, and we continue to creep, and we continue to creep, and then there's an expansion. And whether or not the shed, or the coolers, or the outdoor patio that's on stone, whether or not any of that counts towards the footprint, we're expanding the operation of this restaurant. It's in a non-conforming use. That's the bargain. You get 25% for 1989 forward, and we want to make sure that the board enforces that rule here tonight. So the question I have is, what's the 25% based on? Is it based on the existing footprint as of October 11th, 1989? What's that number? Let's see the math. I would ask the board to consider that as they weigh this application. The second thing I would raise is my client's concern about water runoff. Just to provide some context, about 10 years or so, on their own dime, they installed a drain that runs from, this is not going to be exactly precise, but behind this shed, the Strucks live down this way, and there's a drain that runs and takes the water from the parking lot, and it runs over to a catch basin somewhere this way. Now they did that. We're talking about being good neighbors. That's, I think, a good neighborly move to take the water that's running off from the non-conforming restaurant and on your own dime, take care of the water runoff so it doesn't flood your basement. That to me is the sign of being a good neighbor. So what now we have here is this proposal to enclose what otherwise was a partial foundation or a partially permeable structure, the deck. If you enclose that deck area on the site plan, the blue part over the alfresco dining area, we, as far as I've heard tonight, do not know the unknown of where that water runoff is going to go. So when we're talking about substantially impacting the neighboring properties, the downslope, folks, the whole neighborhood, downslope behind the willows, or the impact of how much this particular site, the capacity of the site under section 10.14, it's relevant to both of those factors. What's the water runoff? That's all we want to know. We just want to make sure, we want a commitment that the water runoff is not going to be any worse as we sit here today than it is tomorrow. Whether that's through condition or through questioning of the board, we're happy to hear that, but we can't have a situation where the water runoff is not properly addressed, and maybe that's a possibility. And again, I would just remind the board here that the town council did, I think this was noted in the project summary too, but just for posterity's sake, for the record and the transcript, that the zone change from commercial to from residential R40 to commercial was rejected on December 8th, 2021. That was a 4-1 vote by the town council, and I just want to put that on the record. So when we ask you to carefully consider this application, to consider the water runoff, and to consider where's this moving target of the 25%. I would just ask the board to be mindful that we've had an expansion of the existing footprint, and as far as I can tell, documented in 1991 of 300-something square feet. We go another 38, that's negligible, 38 square feet in 1993. We get these coolers, we get the shed. It's expanding the footprint of the restaurant. Whether or not those count as accessory structures toward the lot coverage in the existing footprint, the structure and the operation is expanding. And where is that going to stop? For all those reasons. And there are human beings that live down there. The water runoff matters, the noise matters, the noise testing matters. Those things are important not only to the Strucks, but to the folks of that neighborhood. So those are my objections, and ask the board to carefully consider this proposal.
Thank you.
I have one question, Attorney Pear. Are you asking this board to make a presumption that this water runoff is caused 100% by the applicant's property and is not attributable to any other properties, which all in that neighborhood slope down towards the water? I mean, what are we to do with that? There's no expert here, I take it. You don't have that's going to tell us that the water runoff is caused by that, and that your clients did what they did because of this particular piece of property. So I'm just asking, because I think you can appreciate where we might be a little hamstrung to draw a conclusion that the water situation, whatever it is caused by this property or the expansion of it, or is just a natural condition that's occurring because of the geography there?
And when you started your question, I had a feeling that's where you were heading. I am certainly not here to testify as an expert about water runoff. What I can tell you is that expert testimony is not this talismanic thing that common sense can tell this board that being at the top of the hill, the top of the crest, when water comes off a new enclosed structure, it's got to flow somewhere. And right now it's flowing through the Struck's drain in the backyard. I think that needs to be addressed. So no, I can't testify to that as an expert, but as a sentient human being, I think I can draw a fair inference on this.
Can you point out with the pointer there, the property that we're talking about, the Struck's property, because I'm not clear where it was. Just...
I believe it is that one.
Okay.
And that one.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Thanks, Mr. Chairman. I just might have a more, glad my brother's not a mathematician, I'd be in trouble. But there is an intense slope here, which is part of a significant buffer between the restaurant and the abutting property. I want the board to keep in mind that this road, when these houses were built not that long ago, they came to us. We didn't go to them. And while we don't do anything to our surrounding neighbors, we don't adversely affect them in any way, we just want you to be aware that we have been here. They knew we were here. They knew that the restaurant business has been here for years. Hasn't changed since I can remember. Yet they built a road, which my clients do not complain about, and they built their homes, which my clients do not complain about. They came to us. Please keep that in mind. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, if I may, just to also reiterate, if you look at page 2, finding of fact F, there was a letter from the town's engineering department from September 27, 2023 that approved this project as it relates to supplementary draining and the town zoning ordinance of section 7.7.
Thank you.
And then I also wanted to address the floor plan or the footprint of the building as it relates to October 11th, 1989. Those numbers can be seen on page 3 of the staff report. Staff reached out during the review process of this application to the tax assessors, and they provided us with all of the records of the footprint of this building that dated back to 1982, I think. And the closest we had to relate to was 1992. And based off of our calculations, the footprint present at that time totaled up to 4,346 square feet. And taking the numbers that staff calculated based off of the proposed additions in the rear, the increase would only be 20%, not anywhere near 25%.
Thank you, Ryan. Didn't have to ask those questions. Okay, are there any other opponents that would like to speak? If there's no other questions from the board,
I have a question.
please.
So when it goes to what's actually going to be added, the back deck,
Don't look at it,
please. This back deck is going to get enclosed. That area is going to stay pavement and a patio area.
That was a COVID outdoor dining, and now the legislature has approved that permanently.
Okay, and then expansion of the kitchen and then expansion of dining room. I thought that there was something over here that was going to be done.
Not yet.
But did we
That's
see it
not
in the
part of
plans?
this application.
Ms. Brusher, if I may.
Yeah.
No, that is not a part of this application.
Okay, thank you.
And that back deck, right now, that's open as well, right?
Yeah,
But that's, there's not gonna be a roof put on that. Isn't that,
close
that's being enclosed too?
Yes.
Okay, so that's gonna get enclosed in the new section, all right.
Not the parking lot area is not being enclosed.
Right, yeah.
So now the patio, the
No, right, I
the
get it,
alfresco
yeah, no,
area,
that-
yes.
yeah,
Yeah, okay. Any further questions? And I would entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
Make a motion to close it.
Second.
First and second, all those in favor?
Aye.
4-0, motion approved. What is the board's pleasure?
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, with respect to project summary, Twin Willows, tax assessors plat NH lot 268, located at 865 Boston Neck Road. I would make the following findings of fact. First, I would incorporate by reference the project summary, including all of the exhibits that were attached to that, which would include the June 23rd, 2023 expert report from Mr. Pimentel, which is entitled Zoning and Comprehensive Plan Consistency Analysis for 865 Boston Neck Road. I would also include in my findings of fact the expert report submitted by William Coyle dated July 18, 2024. During the hearing today, the applicant was represented by attorney John Koopa. He presented several expert witnesses. The first expert witness was Mr. Christopher Henderson, who was qualified by this board as an expert in architecture. He testified with respect to the expansion of the dining area on what I'm going to refer to, I guess, as either the east or northeast side of the building, and the al fresco dining as well. He testified that they would be putting in a proper foundation there, and he gave some testimony regarding the additional square footage that would be required, which was an additional 596 square feet. That being the kitchen was 176 square feet, and the, I guess, additional seating was 420 square feet. He testified that that would constitute less than 25% expansion for the overall building. He provided some testimony regarding the exterior appearance and testified that there would be a folding window system, which I am assuming is going to be on the section that's currently there, but that's going to be enclosed. Located, I guess, on the northern, I guess the northeastern section on the corner of the building. He also testified that it was his opinion that the improvements and alterations would not substantially alter or change the general and overall appearance of the structure. Secondly, the applicant had Mr. Edward Pimentel testify, who was qualified also as an expert in planning and zoning. He gave some testimony. Well, he gave testimony, I would just say, that is consistent with his June 23rd, 2023 expert report, which is submitted as part of the project summary, and I won't repeat verbatim what he testified to because I believe it's contained within his report. He did testify that that the improvements would not exceed 25%. He also testified with respect to all of the various elements that are necessary to meet a special use permit pursuant to section 11 and 12 of the Narragansett ordinance. Specifically, he testified to the 6 different standards, and I would just incorporate by reference those standards because he basically testified consistent with each of those in his expert testimony. Thirdly, the applicant produced another expert, William E. Coyle III. He's a certified appraiser with over 50 years experience in appraising commercial, residential, and other properties, and he's testified in both state and federal court and before many municipal bodies throughout his career. He testified that basically squaring off the east or northeast side of the building would not result in any diminution in value to any of the neighboring properties. In opposition to the application, Attorney Edward, is it Pear or Perry?
Perry.
Thank you. You're welcome. Represented two abutters who are objectors, Mr. Robert and John Struck. He, as part of his presentation, stated that he disagreed that the special use permit is not required, if I understood his presentation correctly. And he did give some analysis as to whether the footprint or what it was on October 11th, 1989, and went through some mathematical calculations to demonstrate to this board that in his view that the 25% was either exceeded or getting very near to be exceeded. He also provided information from his clients that the property that they own, which is located, I guess, directly to the east and downslope of this property, had suffered water runoff problems over the years, and that his clients have had to install some kind of system to deal with the water runoff, which they claim is being or is caused by the expansion of this property over the years. That concludes my findings of fact.
Is there a second?
Second.
First and properly second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5-0, 4-0.
Chairman, members of the board, with respect to the application and the relief requested, which is from section 6.1, table of use regulations, use code 5814, lunchroom or restaurant alcoholic beverages, I would move to grant a special use permit with respect to section 6.1. There's also a request for relief under section 9.1 as being a non-conforming use, and it's seeking a special use permit for the maybe these two can be, I don't know, can they be combined, 9.1 and 10.1?
They're separated in order to get to 10.
Yeah, all right. I would move to grant the special use permit with respect to section 9.1, and with respect to section 10.1, the alterations to a non-conforming structure, I would move to grant the special use permit requested under that section as well. And I would note that as a basis for that, the project as proposed does not increase the existing degree of dimensional nonconformity. The property has an existing footprint which the town has calculated based upon the best evidence that it could locate from the tax assessor's office of having an initial footprint of 4,346 square feet, that the proposed improvements would increase the footprint to 5,425 square feet, which constitutes a 20% expansion, and therefore the project would comply with the standard. Additionally, the project does not appear to substantially change the exterior of the structure, and that's based upon the testimony of the architect. The testimony supports that the site may accommodate the proposed level of use. In addition, there was evidence adduced through the various witnesses that all 6 elements of necessary for the granting of a special use permit have been met. Yes, the proposed grant of the 3 special use permits are subject to conditions. Yeah, conditions 1 through 3 on page 3 of 4 of the project summary.
Do I have a second?
Mr. Chairman, if I may?
Yes.
I would recommend, I forgot to incorporate that there was a letter submitted by the engineering department approving it for 7.7. I would recommend that you also add a condition, number 4, that reads something like, that all conditions of the September, September 23rd. Sorry, that's a September 27th, 2023 approval letter from the engineering department, including erosion and sediment control as well as site grading, are strictly adhered to.
All right, let's see if I can repeat that.
It's the same condition as any application previous.
Okay, so can we just include incorporate what Ryan just put forth on the record as part of the granting of the special use permit?
Did you cover by any chance the expansion of the liquor area, GTs and?
I think that was as part of granting the special use permit under section 6.1, that includes the liquor.
Thank you.
You good?
Yeah, I'm done.
Okay. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, a motion has been made and properly seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries 4-0.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Appreciate it, of course.
Say again?
At some point in the future,
So I can't. No, I know.
I got lots of plans.
By the way,
Wow!
Email.
The groceries were, I was too involved now.
Holding out.
I'll come in, get my weight, now you're ready.
One bite at a time.
Yeah, we're on the corner, you know?
We're still on.
Yeah, but we still got more to do. Mr. Cooper, we still got more to do, if you could, that's okay.
Thank you, Steve. All right. Jill. First of all, congratulations.
Thank you.
You weren't here, I didn't get to say that to you publicly, so. Well done.
Thank you very much.
That's why you don't reply to my email.
Right. We adjourned?
We're not adjourned yet.
Oh, okay.
No. Do you have anything for us, or actually, Ryan, do you have anything for us?
I do not.
You don't? Okay. Good.
Nope, we'll have all the changes in the law, the new changes in the law, which are now
The latest
effective
changes in the
upon
law.
passage,
Mhm.
because they don't give the towns any time anymore. Those will go, they went before planning last,
2 days ago.
2 days ago. They'll be headed toward the town council, and then I'll, maybe at next month's meeting, once they get enacted, I'll update you guys on all those.
Kind of walk us through it. There's been a lot of changes.
Yeah, this year is not so bad, but there are some changes which will affect, the way planning reviews things and some decision.
So now, are all the applications we have after these today under the new law, will we still have a couple of stragglers back there? 'Cause
There
it's
could be,
confusing.
yeah, so, there could be a few stragglers, but the prior laws were 6 months, they gave effective January 1st. So there was those applications that started and then effective January 1st. However, with the new laws, they made it effective upon passage. So there could be applications that will have 2 sets of laws, but there'll definitely be applications that won't apply to the effective upon passage, because those could be February, March, April ones.
Yay. So and you'll be here for all of these meetings.
Until at least November.
Got it.
Further notification.
That's right. All right, if there's nothing else, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. No one wants to go?
Second.
Okay. All in favor?
Vote on that.
We are adjourned.
Okay.